especially with a move to Florida, you get so many people coming at you with like, well, aren't you going to get tired of it? Aren't you going to this? Aren't you going to that? All these people think people are coming up with lots. For some reason, the move to Florida is very controversial. I secretly think it's because everybody kind of wants to do it deep down. And then
I agree. I
I
agree. Because nobody ever said, don't you think you're going to get tired of Carmel, Indiana? No one said that to me one time. I'm like, this is where we're moving. This is where my husband has a job. No one goes, do you think you're going to get tired of it?
I say the same thing all the time. Like when we said that we were moving down here, everybody, aren't you going to get tired of it? Aren't you going to get tired of it? I had moved so many times in my life, up and down the East Coast, around the world, all these different places. When I moved to like Northern Virginia, because that was where my law firm was, nobody was like, aren't you going to get tired of going to that mall? No, I'm not going to get tired of going to the mall because I'm just going to go to the mall when it's time to go to the mall. I'm not otherwise going to be at the mall.
Right.
Same thing for Disney World. Like Magic Kingdom happens to be literally my local park.
Yeah.
It is literally, it is less than 2 miles from my home.
Yeah.
You come around, you leave my neighborhood and you go around the bend and you can see the top spires of the castle. I am right here. Mm-hmm. Sometimes 2 weeks go by that we don't pop in, and sometimes a week goes by, like last week, where we're popping in almost every day just for a couple hours.
Right.
It's as much a part of our lives as we want it to be. I still wake up, I still do laundry, I still go to the dentist, I still take my kids to the doctor when they're not well. Right. And sometimes I'm popping into Epcot in between a dentist appointment and grocery shopping. But that's why I moved here.
Exactly.
I moved here because I wanted it to be a normal part of my life.
Exactly. And wasn't it a part of your life? Like, I think about how much a part of my life it is, of our life it is now, and we don't live there. Yes. So why would I not want it to be, and that could apply to anything. Yes. But what you going on a random Wednesday night or whatever is theoretically no different than me putting on Happily Ever After fireworks on my TV and watching it just because it's a part of my life.
Yeah.
So I want it to be. It makes me happy.
And that's another thing. Like that's another thing that people talk about when they talk about whether or not to move down here and making the decision and weighing whether or not they're going to be happy with the choice at the end of the day is, will it lose its specialness? And it is different. It's a very different experience because I talked about this with people before we moved down. Like what's the experience like walking into Magic Kingdom, living 2 miles from Magic Kingdom versus walking into Magic Kingdom when you've been desperately waiting for that trip every moment for months or years or whatever. Yeah. And it is a different experience, but I think that sort of rush that used to come from walking into the park, to me, and this is the way that I kind of have explained it to myself, is that my experience of Disney used to be very desperate.
Yes.
Like clinging desperately to every moment.
Yes,
and
I feel that.
I describe it in nice ways sometimes. Like when I talk about the candles, like the sense of the candles, I talk about these moments where I force myself to be present. I'll say like, I would come here on vacation and I would be kind of in one of my spots, whether it's going by the burning Library of Alexandria on Spaceship Earth or sitting on Living with the Lands or on the People Mover, all these little moments where whatever works for you. Yeah. And these moments would happen when we were on here on vacation, when I missed this place so much when I wasn't here. And I would be like, all right, take this moment in, just be present, because you're going to go home and you're going to wish that you were more present in this moment because you're going to give anything to have this moment back.
Yeah.
And so my experience of Disney was incredible, but it was almost like a rush, like a high, like a rush.
Yeah.
And I would cling to it desperately. And as the trip would almost, if you're not a Disney person, don't do it.
Well, it can be anything.
I'm crazy.
No, I think it can be anything because I think everyone sort of has.
Everybody has their version of this, and that's why I say, like, when I write, when I talk, it's like substitute whatever your thing is. Don't pretend we're not even talking about Disney. Just drop in whatever your thing is.
Yes.
If you have a thing, especially if you have a thing that you can't have all the time, drop that in.
Yeah.
Because anything will fit in. But I think, like, in thinking about whether or not to move down here, a lot of the talk that you'll hear, whether it's in your own mind or from other people against it, is that it's not going to be as special because you live here. And it's a very different experience. You don't get that high, that rush, that desperate clinging because it's yours.
Right.
Because it's yours now.
Yeah.
And while you are in a way trading off that excitement of turning that thing, seeing the castle because you've been waiting for it for months, and oh my gosh, I'm cherishing every moment because you're going to be taking it away from me again soon. Like now it's my life. It's just, it is my baseline now.
Yeah.
And I have good days and I have bad days, and I have arguments with my husband, and my kids get sick sometimes, and I get aggravated, and I have too many chores to do. And, you know, who spilled this on the floor, and what did my dog do? Like it's still like all the things.
It's life. Yeah.
All the things that bothered you.
Yes.
Are going to come along.
Yeah.
Unless you literally can leave them behind, in which case more power to you. Make the move today. Like they're coming along, whether they're in your own mind and they're your personal demons, or they're like, you know, your husband.
Can someone else put the toilet paper on the toilet paper holder, please?
Like, put the toilet paper on the wrong way.
Yeah.
You know, they're all coming with you.
Yeah.
So like, don't come here and think it's going to like fix all your problems, because it's the same life. It's the same life. It's just that I live it in the backdrop of my heart.